White cops frame black man unaware he's a CIA agent. The truth explodes in court. The courtroom was silent, save for the hum of the fluorescent lights overhead. All eyes were on the man in the defendant's chair, his expression unreadable, his gaze steady. The prosecution smirked, holding what they believed was irrefutable evidence. But the moment the defendant rose to speak, the entire facade began to crumble. The man they thought was an easy target, a young black man with no apparent ties to power, was about to unleash a truth so devastating it would shatter careers and send shockwaves through the justice system. But before we dive into what happens next, I'd love to know, where are you tuning in from today? Drop a comment below. It all started on a rainy night in a quiet New Jersey suburb. Marcus Bell, a 34-year-old man with an athletic build and an unassuming demeanor, was driving home after visiting his mother. He wasn't speeding, and his registration was up to date. Yet, flashing blue and red lights appeared in his rearview mirror. Two white officers approached his car, their manner aggressive from the start. "Step out of the vehicle!" one demanded. Marcus complied, his face calm but his mind racing. The officers claimed they smelled drugs in the car. Marcus knew this was a lie. He didn't even smoke. Still, they searched his car and within minutes, discovered a bag of cocaine tucked beneath the passenger seat. Marcus protested, but his words fell on deaf ears. He was handcuffed, shoved into the back of a police car, and booked into the local jail. The charge? Possession of narcotics with intent to distribute, a felony that could ruin his life. Unbeknownst to Marcus, the two officers, Detective John Price and Officer Luke Simmons, had been under scrutiny for months. They were part of a corrupt ring of law enforcement officers who planted evidence on innocent civilians, most of whom were black or Hispanic, to pad their arrest records and meet quotas. For Price and Simmons, Marcus was just another statistic, a black man driving an expensive car. Easy prey. What they didn't know was that Marcus wasn't just anyone. Marcus Bell wasn't a drug dealer. He wasn't even a civilian in the traditional sense. He was a covert operative for the CIA, specializing in counterintelligence. For years, Marcus had infiltrated dangerous criminal organizations around the globe, gathering intelligence that saved countless lives. His current assignment? A low-profile mission in New Jersey, investigating a suspected espionage ring operating out of a tech firm. The last thing he needed was to draw attention to himself, but now he had no choice. Marcus could have called his CIA handlers immediately to resolve the situation, but he chose a different route. He wanted to expose the systemic corruption that led to his arrest, knowing his unique position could make a difference. In court, the prosecution presented the evidence: the bag of cocaine, the officers' body cam footage, and their testimonies. It seemed airtight. But when Marcus's lawyer, a seasoned defense attorney named Evelyn Carter, began her cross-examination, cracks started to appear. "Officer Simmons," she began, her tone icy, "can you confirm that your body cam was functioning properly during the arrest?" "Yes," Simmons replied, though his voice wavered slightly. "So you would agree that the footage should show everything as it happened?" "Of course." Evelyn played the footage for the jury. At first, it seemed damning. Marcus being pulled over, the officers searching the car, and the discovery of the drugs. But then, Evelyn zoomed in on a crucial frame. "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury," she said, pausing for effect, "notice the officer's hand as it moves into the car. See the object in his palm?" The jury leaned forward. On the screen, it was clear. Simmons was holding the bag of cocaine before it appeared under the seat. The courtroom buzzed with murmurs. Then, Marcus took the stand. Calmly, he revealed his true identity. "My name is Marcus Bell, and I am an operative for the Central Intelligence Agency," he began, his voice steady. "For over a decade, I've served this country, often at great personal risk. What happened to me that night was not just an attack on my character. It was an attack on the principles of justice we claim to uphold." Gasps rippled through the room. Evelyn followed up with a series of damning questions. "Mr. Bell, are you saying you were framed?" "Yes, and I have proof." He produced a dossier, evidence gathered by the CIA during its own investigation into Price and Simmons. It included surveillance footage, bank statements showing unexplained deposits into their accounts, and testimony from other victims of their schemes. The trial ended with both officers being arrested on charges of perjury, evidence tampering, and conspiracy. Marcus's case became a national sensation, sparking protests and calls for police reform. For Marcus, the ordeal was a reminder of the double-edged sword of his existence, a man trusted to protect the country abroad but treated as a criminal at home. Still, he didn't regret exposing the truth, because this time justice had prevailed, and the system would never be the same. The weeks that followed the explosive trial were a whirlwind. Marcus became a reluctant hero in the media, his face plastered on every news outlet, his name trending across social media. Interviews flooded in, though he declined them all, refusing to make himself a spectacle. For him, the fight wasn't over. It had only begun. What many didn't know was that Marcus's decision to let the trial play out wasn't just about exposing two corrupt cops. It was a carefully calculated move in his larger mission. Back at CIA headquarters, the atmosphere was tense. Marcus sat in a dimly lit briefing room, a thick file in front of him. Across the table, his handler, Agent Naomi Banks, eyed him cautiously. "You took a risk, Bell," Naomi said, her voice low. "Blowing your cover like that? It could have compromised everything." "It was worth it," Marcus replied, his tone firm. Price and Simmons were small fish, but their operation wasn't isolated. The system that allows this kind of corruption to thrive, it's the real target. Naomi sighed, leaning back in her chair. "You know this puts a spotlight on you. People are going to dig into your past, into your movements. We can protect your identity to an extent, but if someone connects the dots—" "Let them," Marcus interrupted. "I'm tired of hiding behind a badge that doesn't protect me in my own country. If we don't clean house here, what's the point of fighting for justice anywhere else?" Naomi studied him for a moment before sliding the file toward him. "If that's how you feel, you're going to want to see this." Inside the file were documents connecting Price and Simmons to a much larger network of corrupt officers, prosecutors, and even judges. The operation wasn't just about planting evidence. It was tied to a lucrative trafficking ring that used the justice system as its cover. Marcus's arrest had been a coincidence, but a useful one. "This goes all the way to the top," Naomi said. "You've rattled the cage and now they're watching you. Be careful, Marcus. They won't go down without a fight." That night, as Marcus sat in his small apartment, the weight of his next steps pressed heavily on him. He thought of his mother, who had always warned him about the dangers of standing out too much, and of his father, whose death at the hands of an overzealous police officer had driven Marcus to join the CIA in the first place. The mission had changed. It wasn't just about espionage anymore. It was personal. Weeks later, Marcus's suspicions were confirmed. One evening, as he stepped out of his car in the parking garage beneath his building, he noticed a shadow move where none should have been. He acted instinctively, pivoting just as a man lunged at him with a knife. Marcus disarmed the attacker with practiced ease, slamming him against the concrete wall. "Who sent you?" he demanded, but the man said nothing, only sneering before biting down hard on something in his mouth. Moments later, he collapsed, lifeless. Marcus crouched down, inspecting the man's pockets. Inside, he found a burner phone with a single text message. "Eliminate Bell before he talks." The message wasn't signed, but Marcus didn't need a name. He knew this was only the beginning. The courtroom victory had painted a target on his back, and whoever was pulling the strings wasn't going to stop until he was silenced. The next day, Marcus made a call. "Naomi, it's me. I need a team. This isn't just about me anymore. We're going to take them down, every last one of them." Naomi's voice was calm but resolute. "You've got it. But Marcus, this time play it smart. The truth may have exploded in court, but the fallout's just beginning." Marcus hung up, his mind already racing with plans. The game had changed, but he was ready. After all, he wasn't just fighting for himself. He was fighting for everyone who'd ever been silenced, framed, or forgotten. And this time, he was taking the fight to them.